Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here as always by the man who will probably not be locking up the Patriots to win this week. Kyle, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty good. Yeah, probably not, but you know what? We got holiday stuff. We got football over the holidays. We got basketball over the holidays. The Patriots aren't going to ruin my mood. We're okay.
Yes, yeah. I'm still worried about my team playing on Christmas. I don't love it.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, it's not tough. It's typically something I would always be excited for. Like, oh wow, I'm gonna see my team play on a holiday. That's fun. Not this week. Not this year.
If you lose to the Cardinals, like, what? I mean, I don't know. You can't lose to the Cardinals on Christmas Day, can you?
I don't know. This team would not surprise me to do anything, Kyle.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. We'll see.
We got a lot to get to. Let's just jump in. Starting off with the Monday game. The Packers are back.
They are back, and they're not dead yet. They are not dead yet. We have a real possibility of a Week 18 Packers-Lions game to decide the last playoff spot.
Is it a real possibility, or is it a possibility?
It's a possibility. I mean, their schedule's hard to end the season. At Miami this week, home to Minnesota, home to Detroit. But you know what? Minnesota doesn't seem as daunting of a task as it did, even 4 weeks ago.
And same thing with Miami.
Yeah. I mean, it's not improbable to say the Packers could win. I think that they're looking a lot better on offense, right? I mean, I thought Aaron Rodgers was good in this game. I thought the receiving corps did pretty well in this game, and they ran the ball well. All of a sudden, like, this looks a little bit more like a real NFL offense. The defense got stops this game too. I mean, I take the defense's performance with a grain of salt because the Rams have, would a single Rams skill position player start on any other football team in the league?
Good question. Van Jefferson. But I guess it depends on how. Well, he would start as he's a good I think he's a good number 3 receiver.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
He's their number 1 receiver is the problem.
Does Higbee count as a skill receiver?
Yeah,
skill player.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, then Higbee.
He'd get some time too. So yeah, I mean, your number 3 receiver and your tight end might play for some teams. That's basically what we're looking at here. But yeah. And the quarterback has played for like 2 weeks on the team, so
that's a bit generous. It's not even been 2 weeks.
That's right. So yeah, I mean that's a tough situation to overcome. But yeah, I mean I thought the offense looked better against what is still a pretty good Rams defense even without Aaron Donald, and then the defense stepped up in this game. We'll see how that translates going forward. 3 tough offenses to end the season. We'll see how they manage.
This loss. My main takeaway from this game is the real loser of this game was the Raiders. How do you lose to Baker Mayfield with the Rams? How did this happen?
Yeah, that's true. That's such an embarrassment. And then we lost to the stupid team. God, no, I'm sad.
Yes. The Green Bay Packers are, definitely a team that has to win out. We'll preview kind of the rest of it. But let's just get into it, Kyle. Let's just go to unless you had more you want to say about this game.
No, we just about covered everything.
All right. Let's talk about Kyle. I mean, you're slipping here in the picks show. I mean, this is 7-point drop off. I've gained 7 points in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I felt really good about my picks last week. I mean, just going through them, like the Patriots lost off of the dumbest play in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys lost off a drop pass that turned into a pick 6. And then my lock, Eagles -9, lost on a touchdown in the last minute and a half of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have had -9 in the, I was clear. And then I felt pretty good about those. I got to get these locks right though, man. I can't be dropping extra points. That's what really killed me this week. Cause I mean, you were 6-2, I was 5-3 in that situation, but I got the lock wrong. So got to get that right. Hopefully I get some of this luck bouncing back my way. That was a brutal week for me with those 3 losses.
Yeah. The locks are always gotta hit those locks. Also, I meant to mention at the beginning of the show, we will not be doing the recap show this week, unfortunately, with the holidays, and it's going to be difficult. I'm going to be in Wisconsin. That's actually why we're moving this podcast up and had a sort of a morning podcast is because of the I'm flying this afternoon now since my flight got moved up. So a lot of craziness. We won't be able to do the recap, but we should still be able to do the preview next week and then do a recap the following week. Be back on schedule from there. So, but yeah, without further ado, Kyle, why don't you give me a game?
All right. So a lot of games to pick from, a lot of games on the board. Usually my theme is to go with Thursday nights, but I'm not doing that this week because there's a doozy of a football game that I refuse to pick. Broncos getting 2.5 points on the road at Los Angeles Rams.
Yep, this was also number one on my list, which is, we designed the Pick'em show to be this way so that the more entertaining games would get chosen first. Not exactly working out this time. I guess I'm picking Denver.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I almost picked the Rams.
Oh, Kyle, we have breaking news here happening right now early on in the show. Joe, the great chatter Joe, says, I'm leaving Team Kyle and bandwagoning to Jackson. People are jumping ship from Team Kyle to Team Jackson.
Oh, come on. I'm due for a comeback. There's still 3 weeks and the whole playoffs. Get back over here.
Hey, all aboard the J train.
Oh, boy. I mean, after he said J Trey, you should come back. I mean,
Joe's name starts with J, too.
Fair enough.
You just don't understand us Jane trainers.
Fair enough. That sounds interesting. Anyway, Rams Broncos. Aaron Donald's questionable at least, so there's a chance he might
There
play. I don't know. Like, could this game just end like 3-2?
If we're lucky, it could end 3-2. I don't know. It's such an uninteresting game. It's by far and away like the game that nobody wants to watch. Thank God this one didn't end up being a primetime, or I mean, it is kind of a primetime game. It's on Christmas. It's one of the Christmas games. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a primetime game, which makes sense, right? On paper, these were two teams that had high expectations. Like, of course, this would be a good game. It just it did not work out.
Yeah, I just got to say, NFL hit a home run with this Christmas slate when they were going to go. They wanted to go head to head with the NBA and blow their numbers out of the water, which they probably still will, but ratings aren't. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Green Bay at Miami, doozy. That's still a pretty good game.
There's at least intrigue there.
Yeah, Broncos with potentially Brett Rippon again and Baker Mayfield and the Los Angeles Rams. And then Tampa Bay against Trace McSorley in the Arizona Cardinals. So good job, NFL. We did it.
And like on paper, like, yeah, this totally makes sense. Like you have 4 playoff teams out of those 6 teams, including the Super Bowl winner, the 1 seed, and a team that was tied for the most wins in football. You have another playoff team in the Cardinals, and 2 teams that had high expectations. The Dolphins have met those expectations. It's just the Broncos didn't, but just everything went off the rails. We talked about this game a lot, Kyle.
We did. I mean, look, these are 2 good defenses, these 2 horrible offenses. This is not going to be a fun game to watch. This is when you probably prepare your Christmas dinner so you can skip this game altogether. Yep. So that's basically the game plan here.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Thanksgiving, my family is the worst at getting the Christmas dinner started right at like the 2-minute warning of the first game, or my Christmas dinner, my Thanksgiving dinner. Like it starts like almost exclusively right when there's like 2 minutes left in the first game. I'm like, look, can we give it 5 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. I did my cooking accordingly. I got to handle all that this year, and I feel like I hit a home run with my timing on that.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's what I need to do. I need to take over just so I can get that done. All right, let's move on. We don't want to talk about this game. Let's talk about the game we're all here to talk about. Saints Browns. Kyle, who you got?
Saints Browns, indeed, one of the games of the week. Not really, but
No.
Give me the Browns. This defense has started to play better. And if this defense can play to its ceiling, which I think is a very high ceiling, I think they can go and win this game. So give me this Browns team with this defense having a little bit of momentum. I know it's still a terrible pass defense statistically, but like I said, it's 11th now. Okay, never mind. It was what was it bad at? Run defense? Yeah, they're a bad run defense, but still, I'm not really worried about this run game for New Orleans. I'm not really worried about anything for this New Orleans offense outside of Chris Olave taking some deep shots. So just give me this Browns defense to get this done.
All right, I don't know. I kind of am maybe leaning Saints here again. It's a game I could see going either way, but I guess I still just haven't been overly impressed with the Browns. Really, their offense has really struggled since Watson has come back. Again, yes, he's blah 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 blah. Last week he looked good. It was his best week because he scored 13 points against a defense that has been a passing relatively, it's been a defense you can pass on. The Ravens had only able to score 13 there. I don't know how much they'll be able to put up here. And I do think the Saints should be able to put up at least a little. I could see this being like a 20-14 Saints win.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen incremental improvements out of Watson, excuse me, so far this season. So, I mean, to say that he's going to, I mean, is it basically like a preseason for him where he's just getting the reps now? And, after 3 games, we should expect a little bit more out of him. I think that's a possibility that at this point you should expect a little bit more out of him and he plays a little bit better. But I don't know, like, this Saints offense just isn't like fun to watch or good. And like I said, they take a couple deep shots here and there, and I just don't know if it's enough to go at this Browns defense. And I also think there's a massive coaching differential here. Like I think Dennis Allen's a bad coach. I think Kevin Stefanski's still a pretty good coach.
I'm trying to figure out the Dennis Allen stuff because obviously he's a great defensive coordinator. He's another one of those,
Yeah.
Good coordinator guys. I do always wonder, though, it's like he can't figure out the offense. Why does it seem like so many times these great defensive guys just don't know how to run an offense?
It's baffling, or how come they can't Kyle Shanahan does a great job of employing people that can run the defense. Although from what I heard, he's actually pretty involved with the defense still regardless. So I'm sure he deserves some credit for it too. But I don't know. Matt Eberflus has kind of figured it out a little bit. He's figured out a way to find an offense that, caters to Justin Fields' skill set. I don't know if it's going to work long term, but it's working a little bit right now at least. So it just seems like that I think there's a lot of defensive coordinators who are thinking about their offense as a way to help their defense, Whereas, I mean, offense is infinitely more important in the NFL nowadays than defense. The last thing you want is a defensive guy as your head coach calling, constant run plays to try and churn clock, get your defense some rest, trying to extend drives and play for third downs basically to keep drives going longer. I just think it's a mistake. I think that's something that defensive coordinators that turn head coaches run into.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Well said, Kyle. Let's talk about coaching on the other side, though. This not putting Deshaun Watson into preseason, in hindsight, it's just a total blunder.
I think so too.
I mean, if they beat the Bengals 2 weeks ago, this is a team that legitimately is in the playoff hunt, and they're still technically not out of it, but they would be 7-7 at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that baffles me is okay, the worst case scenario is Watson gets hurt in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's already missing the majority of the season anyways.
Right.
So I don't know. Obviously you don't want anybody to get hurt, but at the same time, the injury risk of Deshaun Watson going down at that point seems kind of low when he's not going to play the majority of the season anyways. It just seems like it would have made more sense to get him as much reps as possible when he hadn't played football for an entire year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. Kyle, let's move on. Give me a game.
Let's see. Let's keep the ball rolling here. All right, let's just jump to Thursday night. Only 1.5 points, but this is an interesting game, I think. This is a pretty big game for playoff implications now. Jaguars at Jets.
I don't trust the Jets team. Granted, Zach Wilson has, I believe I saw that he had 5 big-time throws in that last game, whereas he only had 6 all season heading into that game. So you like that, but it was still a very weird game from the Jets. The Jets are kind of reeling right here. The Jaguars are hot. Not just give me the Jaguars. I'm locking up this Jacksonville Jaguars team to cover the 1.5 point spread. I feel okay about it. I think that this is a team that for Jacksonville feels like they're hitting their stride at the right time. Feels like they're getting hot at the right time. And if they're going to make the playoffs, this win would go a lot. I think winning this game, to me, pretty much guarantees that Week 18 we're going to have a winner take all for the division.
We're going to have a few of those potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah, because I had the Jags penciled in. I did not have it as a lock candidate just because it's a young team that has had some bad losses. I don't trust it at this point this season.
Mm-hmm.
Next season, we'll talk. But my worry for Jacksonville in this game, if I still would have picked Jacksonville, but my worry for picking them in this game would have been, we've seen them be able to scheme open receivers a lot this season, and Trevor Lawrence has made some really good throws too. I think that shouldn't go unsaid. Yeah. You looked at that secondary for Dallas, though. They were able to scheme guys like Zay Jones open a lot in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Can that happen against this Jets defense? This Jets secondary, which is still, I mean, still probably the best secondary in football, or at least how it's played this season. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown got a little bit last week, but it wasn't as impactful as like some of the other games he's had this season. And I think that's my one worry for Jacksonville is can these receivers get open? But that being said, they're going against Zach Wilson, who, listen, it's the Thursday before Christmas. Budget's a little tighter. There's not going to be a lot of moms out there for him to motivate him and play a little better in the stands. So I don't
Could it
know
be a
how
good
that's going to
thing?
go. Yeah.
No distractions.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I don't know, but yeah, I just that's my one worry for the Jags, but I do think they're trending up where the Jets are trending down.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that's a very reasonable point. I could see that happening because it is worth mentioning. The Jets didn't give up a touchdown until that like 50-yard touchdown at the end of the game last week. I mean, the other touchdown was special teams.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, you could get a punt return on this team though. They've done it twice this season. But yeah,
Yeah, I gotta figure that out.
I think it's going to be an interesting test. But yeah, I mean, if Lawrence looks good in this game though, like I know we do our quarterback rankings in the offseason for the next season. I mean, if he looks good in this game again, I mean, he's got to enter the season into like the top 15 at least, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you could definitely. I mean, he's played that way this season. I mean, you could argue he's been a top 10 quarterback this season. He's at least been top 15.
Yeah, I mean, arm talent, he is definitely top 8 in the league.
Yeah, maybe even higher than that.
Yeah, if he is continuing to process the game this way, he's gonna be one of the he's looking like one of those guys. He's looking like the pick that we wanted.
Yeah. So you also have the Jaguars winning.
I am leaning Jags. I do have some worries. That's why I didn't have it as a lock candidate. But I do see the path to the Jaguars winning, and I do think they're the slightly better team.
Listen, Kyle, I had like 4 lock candidates this week. I said I'm not having last week happen again. I'm going to get a lock somewhere.
I have a few. I had 3 on my board, so I feel pretty good.
All right. Well, I'll give you Raiders, Steelers. Starting off with the great games, I think. I don't know. This should be an interesting game, albeit not like not one of a ton of playoff implications. And I mean, I guess there's still hope. But Kyle, who do you have winning this?
Yeah, I guess technically, mathematically not eliminated, but it is a true actual loser leaves town because the loser isn't coming back from it. Give me. I'm just gonna go Raiders. Like, there's just too many unknowns right now with Pittsburgh with some of this stuff. I know their defense is kind of healthy, but like TJ Watt's looked injured. Like, I think he's still been pretty good, pretty impactful, but I don't think he's been full on TJ Watt since he's come back. And then I just look at it like Kenny Pickett's still questionable. Najee Harris is questionable. Deontay Johnson is questionable. I know you think Najee Harris stinks, but I think he provides a little bit of that kind of battering ram that helps the passing game a little bit. So I just think if those 3 guys are out or, not 100%, I'm a little worried about this Pittsburgh offense. So give me the Raiders.
Yeah, I have the Raiders as well. I was surprised actually that Pittsburgh was the favorite in this one. I guess they're at home. I can see it, but I could see either one. I could see the Steelers pulling this off. I think the game could come down to will the Steelers really try this Raiders secondary? Will they constantly be throwing the ball down the field? Feels like they don't love to do that, but this would probably be the game to do that. And if they do, they probably win. But will they?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. This team isn't built to throw the ball downfield except for the 2 times it actually throws to George Pickens, right? Which they're going to have to do that like 4 or 5 times in this game, I think, because that's how you beat this Raiders defense. And I don't know, the Patriots weren't able to do that last week, and I kind of view these offenses similar. So, like, I just don't know how that's going to work if you're not scheming plays downfield.
Yeah. The other thing I'm fascinated by is just the Derek Carr of it all. I want to see, not a ton has been made about Derek Carr's had a disappointing season this year. He got paid this last offseason. And, part of the issue with the Raiders this year has been kind of secondary players, or not like the secondary receiving options getting hurt and just, maybe taking step backs as well. That's been an issue with the Raiders. But another part of it has been Derek Carr, who we thought was going to take this step forward with Adams, kind of took a step backwards. I want to see if this is just sort of a fluke and he had a couple bad games or what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, he is potentially playing for a new team. Like he is auditioning basically for a new team next season. He's going to start somewhere next year, whether it's with the Raiders or somebody else. But I don't know. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all if Josh McDaniels decides to move on at this point. But He's got to go out there and prove himself. I think the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, should be interesting between those two teams. Kyle, give me a game.
All right. Let's. This is. I think this is a good game. We made fun of it a little bit, but I think like you said, there's intrigue here. Packers at Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. I had a couple games ahead of it, but not many. And there's kind of I feel like there's a clump right here where there's almost like 6 games you could pick and argue
Yeah.
should be here. I have the Dolphins winning this game, but you're right. I mean, could this Packers offense, which we have seen get better with Christian Watson, it still hasn't been fantastic, but it's been better. It looks like a solid offense at this point. The defense, played well against the Rams. I think there's still some issues there. The thought is, can this Packers team, with as their backs against the wall, pull off a victory against the Dolphins? The issue is Dolphins kind of need a win as well. These are two teams that could really use a victory right here. As the Dolphins, you've had some understandable losses. You kind of don't get any more understandable losses, though. You kind of have to start winning these games down the stretch. I'm going with the Dolphins here. I think they'll be able to score more than the Packers will, which is how you win football games. But I think that their offense, what I'm trying to say is I think their offense will be able to have a better day than the Packers offense.
Yeah. How do the Packers defend the middle of the field? I think that's been a big problem for them this season. I think it's been a big problem in the run game, and I think it's also a big problem in the pass game. And this Mike McDaniel offense loves to cross these speedy receivers across the field. And how do these linebackers, who I think have struggled at times this season, defend these guys? I think that's a big question I have for the Packers, and that's what I'm worried about the most. But I do think, I also think from what we've seen from the kind of injured Dolphins secondary this season, from what we've seen from the Packers the last few weeks, if they play like that, I think they can move the ball in this Dolphins defense too.
Yeah, you have to think about that over the middle stuff. Linebackers can come into play, and we've seen. I think about Quay Walker this season, who I think we haven't talked a ton about him, but like we probably should talk more about him, right? It was a big deal when he got drafted in the first round. Many people felt like he was sort of a third round talent. He's looked like a third round talent player so far this season. These guys who have last names, whose last name is Walker, who were drafted out of Georgia in the first round. Maybe I've been proven right about Kyle.
Yeah, the tough thing is we had high hopes for Devin Lloyd, and I think he's had shown flashes. He hasn't been that consistently good either. So
he looked great, and then has struggled since then.
Yeah, so it's just like we'll see how we'll see how he develops. But yeah, I mean, I think he's been rather inconsistent this season.
Yeah, he's had some flashes, but again, you drafted him kind of as a project guy too, so it's hard to. Same thing with Trayvon Walker. They're projects; they're not supposed to be good year one, but it's kind of like that's the head scratching thing of why did you draft projects when you're trying to win right now? Could be an issue in this one, but again. There's still plenty of talent on this Packers defense. I think that there's still reason to believe that could Jair Alexander have a good day against Tyreek Hill? I mean, it's possible, right? And Rasul Douglas has had a good season. You get some of these guys who can come in, and you do have Eric Stokes, who has not had a great year. Or actually, he's hurt, so never mind that. But there's still some guys who can come in and who hopefully can come in and play. The other weird thing though is I don't get what's going on with these safeties, right? The Packers safeties, that's usually the bright spot of what you think about this team with Darnell Savage and Adrian Amos. They both had bad years.
Yeah, none of it's made sense. Like, there's a lot of guys on this team that I think there was a few guys, like there's the Devondre Campbells and there was the Rasul Douglases, who we were kind of hoping, the Packers were hoping that last season's breakout season was replicable. And I think they've been fine. They're not as good as they were last season. But then some of the good players just not playing as well has been kind of baffling, right? And those safeties are, just an example of that. And why this defense isn't playing well. There's a lot of Packers fans who are frustrated with the scheme. And I don't think Joe Barry has done a very good job defensively. So is it a scheme thing or is it the players not playing well thing? Or is it both?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's interesting though. We'll see what happens in this one. Let's move on, why don't we? Let's go to Kyle. I'm going to give you a game that I don't want to pick for several reasons. I'm going to give you Eagles Cowboys, not because it's a bad game, but because I don't know what's going to happen with this Eagles team, who will seemingly be without Jalen Hurts this week. So the Cowboys are now 4.5-point favorites in this one, which I was surprised by. I get them maybe being favorites. 4.5 points feels like a lot, but Jalen Hurts has been very good this season. Will Minshew mania reign supreme, or will the Dallas Cowboys get a win to keep their 1 seed hopes alive?
I don't know if there's 1 seed hopes, but I do think that the Cowboys win this game, especially with Jalen Hurts out. I think there's a couple things I'm worried about. First of all, like this Eagles team is still really good despite Jalen Hurts being out. Like it's still a
Mm-hmm.
really good defense. There's still really good skill position guys. They can still run the ball well. I think the thing I'm most worried about is like how much I think they've invested right in the backup quarterback, and I think they have a good backup quarterback. The only thing I'm worried about the backup quarterback, which Minshew I think is a solid quarterback, is how much does the offense change? Because I don't think he can go out there and do what Jalen Hurts does. That's just he's not the same athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's what I'm worried about the most is how that offense looks without Jalen Hurts out there. Just because there's gonna be half the playbook that they're gonna have to throw out because Minshew's not gonna be able to run at the same effect that Hurts will. So I think that's gonna change a lot. And I mean, I don't know, like the Cowboys can be frustrated that they haven't played well the last 2 weeks. I think that, they were kind of unlucky to lose that game in overtime the way they did. But this is kind of gut check time. This is not up or shut up. If you want to be a Super Bowl contender, go beat this team. Go win this game. This is what you have to do. And, I think this is going to be a huge test for the Cowboys late in the season.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the when I heard Hurts got hurt. That's a you'd say that 5 times fast. I immediately thought I kept comparing this team to the Eagles team that won the Super Bowl in 2017. It's like, what, now their quarterback's going down too late in the season, just like that team did. Okay, luckily it doesn't seem that serious with Hurts. But I don't know. Like Kyle, if that was the case and Hurts was just out, I would still be saying, hey, don't sleep on the Eagles winning the Super Bowl with Minshew. Like I feel like they're that good of a team. I'm not saying I would put them as my
Yeah.
favorites, but like I think that they're a quality team. I think you're right. I think for Dallas though, it's like if you're not going to beat the Eagles without Hurts in the lineup, when are you going to beat the Eagles?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a big test. And, there's been questions. People, I think, are kind of unfairly unhappy with Dak in this area. I've been hearing it a lot this week. And I don't think he's been as good as you could hope this season. But at the same time, like, blaming him for that loss, I think is kind of ridiculous.
I thought he played well. I thought that was actually maybe his best game of the season,
Yeah,
even though the stat line wouldn't back it up.
yeah, I thought he was good. I mean, what is he supposed he hit the guy right in the numbers. What is he supposed to do?
Right.
Like, I don't
Hmm.
know. But yeah, I mean, I it is a big question. If they can't beat them now, when are they going to beat them? They beat you with your backup quarterback in, and we all came away from that game saying that was a good Cowboys performance. They lost by 7 to a very good team with Cooper Rush in. If you have Dak Prescott in and Jalen Hurts isn't in and you lose, that's a bad Cowboys performance.
Yeah, I totally with you. So you said you had I missed it at the beginning. You have the Cowboys or Eagles winning?
I'll take the Cowboys. I just think too much to overcome with Gardner Minshew in. I think he's a solid backup quarterback, but like I said, half the playbook's going to be gone. I don't know how this is going to look.
Give me Minshew mania. I'm rolling with the Eagles here.
I think it's a sound. I think it's fair though. This is a very good defense, and this has there's receivers that can win on the outside. What
Yeah,
Cowboys defense are we going to see this week? That's a big question.
yeah. Great point as well. Let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
Um, uh, you said you didn't want to pick that game. I don't want to pick this game because these two teams just baffle me. It's Giants and Vikings.
Giants Vikings. I feel okay about picking the Vikings. I actually considered locking them up, although you can never lock up the Vikings to win by more than 3. That's just not how they play football. This feels like the game where it's like, regardless of well, these are two teams that I think it's fair to say their record is better than their talent level. Like that's I think true in both capacities, but for both aspects of this game. I just feel like, I don't know, every statistic I see about the Giants has them as one of the worst teams in football. Like every advanced thing that I trust
Yeah.
says that this is not a very good football team that's finding ways to win. Hey, you're finding ways to win. And, part of it is like, Kayvon Thibodeau coming through. I mean, he was the MVP of that game against the Washington Commanders. I mean, that was an amazing performance. Can he do that again? If these Vikings tackles are healthy, maybe not, but are they going to be healthy? That's been a question this season. So you have a situation where that's maybe the way to victory. I feel like this is a game the Vikings should blow out the Giants on.
Yeah. Should we give the winner of this game a fake trophy and call it the Fraud Bowl?
Ooh, I like that. Or should the loser actually get or I guess who deserves the trophy in this scenario?
Maybe just both. Give them both a trophy. Maybe.
Yeah, it's the Fraud Bowl, but that's the branding. It's the Fraud Bowl.
The Fraud Bowl. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like the one thing I think we forgot on Sunday, and we are both definitely not blame the rest people. We've talked about that. The end of that game was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, absurd.
There
Mhm.
was like 2 or 3 plays at the end of that game that just baffled me that they either were called or weren't called in terms of, favoring the Giants at that point. But yeah, I mean, I'd lean Vikings too. I have no idea what, I think Thibodeau could get some pressure on this Vikings offense, get after Kirk Cousins. I think it's still a good defensive line for the Giants, but like, can they cover enough to? Yeah, can they cover enough to make that happen? I don't know if that's going to happen. It's too good a receiving room.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to be covering Justin Jefferson. I don't know who's going to be getting open for the Giants in this one. I feel like there's a massive mismatch. On both sides. Even with the say what you want about the Vikings secondary being inconsistent, can the Giants take advantage of that? I don't know if they can. Granted, I felt this every week about the Giants, and they keep proving me wrong. So I don't know what I'm talking about with the Giants. The Giants are just, I guess, they're a blind spot for me. I don't get it. I don't get how this team is here. I thought they were going to just, so slowly lose out and miss the playoffs, and then no, they beat the Washington football team, the one they had to win. So I don't know what's going on in New York.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that we could just randomly like Richie James is going to come away from this game with like 8 catches, 145 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and we're just
Right.
going to be like, okay, that was weird. This team's still not very good, but that's
Hmm.
just what they do. They defy logic.
Yeah, but hey, that's your job is to win football games. Your job isn't to make podcasters be impressed by you. This isn't college football. Just win.
Yeah. And they are just winning, so I guess you got to give them some credit. But yeah, I think I'm leaning Minnesota here too. But I don't love either of these teams. I just I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings lost this game.
Is there any outcome you'd be shocked by in this game? Like any scenario whatsoever? I think there's literally nothing.
The Vikings winning by more than a touchdown.
I guess so. Yeah, Vikings by 9. That's the shocking outcome.
Yeah. They don't do that very often, so I would be surprised by that.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. I'm going to give you a game. I thought you were going here when you said the game you don't want to pick. The two teams you've never wanted to pick: Chargers, Colts. Kyle, who do you got?
Uh, I'm considering locking this up. I think I like the game a little bit more, so I'm just gonna pick them. The Colts just lost a 33-0 lead. They're not winning another game this season. Give me the Chargers.
Uh
They're
huh.
not bouncing back from that loss to win this game. Chargers are going to blow them out. Mike Williams is due for a big day because Stephon Gilmore can only guard one receiver. He's going to probably guard Keenan Allen. He can't guard both of them. Mike Williams
Hmm.
is due for a big day. Give me the Chargers big in this one.
I mean that's a part of why I think this line is as low as it is because of the Stephon Gilmore of it all, who's having like again an incredible year. He's been one of the
It's
best.
been
He's been
great.
an elite corner this year. I mean, it's unfortunate he's wasted this season on this bad Colts team because I feel like every win they've had, it's been like because Stephon Gilmore has had like these heroic efforts. So I think that he deserves plenty of praise, and I do think that he should be able to play well against Keenan Allen. But you're right. Then you have Mike Williams to worry about. Although we've seen this Chargers team struggle at times of again, they don't have this complete offense around Herbert. They have just like select people. It's almost like a Madden offense, like when you're in your first year and you just have like 2 receivers and a great quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of is, but at the same time, I think 2 receivers and a good quarterback's enough to win this game, especially
Sure.
when that quarterback's Justin Herbert, who, I mean, is Justin Herbert the third best quarterback in football? Like top 3 or top 4?
Wow. So you've got I thought you used to be lower on Herbert. Now you're saying he's a top 3 quarterback in football?
He's been good this season. It's been unbelievable. I think he's been really good. I think he's one of the best processors of the game in the league currently. I think
Listen. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't think he's as good off script as a guy like Mahomes, Lamar, that kind of stuff. But like his way to see the game and see the field and I mean, a lot of it is, I mean, Rodgers-esque almost. He's got the arm talent of a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and he also sees the game at an elite level. He's one of the best in the league at that. I've been thoroughly impressed with this season this year, dealing with all the injuries this team had on offense, on his offensive line and his receiving core. I think he's handled it all really well. I've been impressed. I think I still have Burrow over him, but I think it's close.
So your top 3 is it's Mahomes, Burrow, and then Herbert?
I would have to make a whole list and think about it, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's my top 3.
Where's Brock Purdy in this?
20? I don't know.
Yeah. What about
4th.
Tua?
Tua's not in my top 5.
Okay, no.
Honestly.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because it feels like a scorching hot take, but like I'm going through the list right now, and you have, those three we just mentioned of, Mahomes, Burrow, and then you have Herbert. But you look at the other ones, it's like, okay, Josh Allen. I think most people would have Josh Allen over Herbert, but you could argue the other way if you wanted to. And then who else are we missing? I guess Rodgers still. I'd probably still say Rodgers. I know that this season hasn't been his best year, but with what he's had around him, you could definitely make that argument. I think people would throw Hurts in there potentially, depending on how much you like his
Lamar
season. But
too,
was
when
that?
healthy. Lamar
Yeah,
when
one help.
healthy too. I
Sure.
think Brady's taken a slight step back. He was someone who was probably in the top 3 before. I would say I'd
Yeah.
think he's still top 10, but I think he's taken a step back this year. Uh, I think Rodgers has taken a small step back too, where I think the door's kind of open. So yeah, I mean, I think the top 5 in some order probably right now is some combination of Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert, Allen, Lamar, and it just depends on how you want to order that.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's not as crazy as it sounds for sure. Let's move on. Kyle, give me a game.
All right, let's go with oh boy, this is where it kind of gets gross.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you your team. Let's go Bucks at Cardinals.
Okay, interesting. I had a few games ahead of this. Kyle, maybe it's just blind optimism. I feel like that this is the game the Buccaneers should dominate, right? Like this, or at least
Huh.
win handedly. They never do that. They're not going to, but I feel like this is the game that like they should be able to win this game without too much of an issue, right? On paper, there's regardless of what you want to say about this Buccaneers team, they have way more talent than the Arizona Cardinals without Kyler Murray.
Yes, they should, but Tampa Bay has 2 wins this season by double digits, and it was week 1 and 2.
Uh-huh.
So I
Right.
don't know. I don't know if I can say anything's a sure thing with the Buccaneers, and I think that's my problem. Why I'm giving it to you is I don't know. Like I can't keep judging this team as if it's a good football team. It's a sleeping giant. It might just be a bad football team, and I don't know how to judge that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's not the case. I'm not certainly not saying it's not the case. I don't think this is a team that again. I get it. There's a lot of issues with this Buccaneers team, but still, with all these issues, you just have to wonder how are the Arizona Cardinals going to move the ball relatively effective? I guess is the thought that maybe what could happen is we see Todd Bowles blitz the hell out of Trace McSorley, and then you see like Hopkins get open a decent amount. Is that the way they can put up some points?
They can't. I mean, they got burners. Like as much
Yeah,
as as much as I've not liked Hollywood Brown in his career as a player, like I think he's an okay number 2 receiver.
sure.
And I think he can get behind a defense. I think Greg Dortch is someone who can get behind a defense. This Cardinals team is equipped with speed. Whether Colt McCoy can make the throws, I don't know. Or Trace McSorley can make the throws, I don't know. But they've got speed on the outside to make plays if it's one-on-one situations. It takes 1 or 2 blown coverages for that to work, right?
Kyle, I can see it now. I can see the Trace McSorley post game press conference of he threw for 348 yards on 31 attempts, 4 touchdowns against what a Christmas miracle.
Or just he beat Tom Brady. How does that feel?
Yeah, could see it. There's been a lot of people. There have been a lot of that question been asked a lot this season.
Yeah. What did you think of the Brady thing? This was a couple weeks ago now, where he was signing autographs after the game.
Oh yeah, to like someone it was to set. I believe it was a player, a defensive player who intercepted a pass and then got Brady to sign the ball that he intercepted. Which is I don't know. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Brady is like this. Brady is not just like a celebrity, a football celebrity. Like he's a legitimate. Like people who don't watch American football are very well aware of who Brady is.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I mean, I get it. It's cool. It's a cool story. So,
Yeah, no, it's what I mean. I don't know. This is just it's one of those things where it's like, would a Buccaneers ever get it together? It does feel like if they lose this game, they're still technically alive here, and actually, just all they would have to do is beat the Panthers to be in a really good spot. But they win this game, then all they have to do is clinch clinch a victory against the Panthers All they have to do to clinch the playoffs would be to win against the Panthers the following week. So feels like an easy 1-2 punch to get to the playoffs. So we'll see how they blow it, how they screw it up.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely we said it on Sunday. This is their tune-up schedule. They have Cardinals,
Mm-hmm.
Panthers, Falcons. This team should be 9-8 to end the season. And if we want to take it seriously for the playoffs, they have to win these 3 games and they have to look kind of convincing. I think that's kind of what's on the table for them.
Yeah. One last thing I want to talk about with this, because I don't know how much we have to get to. I think I don't know how much we have to talk about with the Cardinals here. We mentioned them a little bit, but at what point do we start blaming Brady for this? Because Brady has not played well these past few weeks. I mean, there's no getting around it. Brady, and part of why the Buccaneers have gotten worse. Brady is currently PFF's 14th rated quarterback. When he was obviously their first rated quarterback for the regular season last year. So, I mean, listen, obviously I'm a big Brady guy. Obviously you're a big Brady guy. We all like Brady, but like part of the issue has been because Brady hasn't played as well this year.
Yeah, I think he's missed throws. I think he deserves some of the blame. I don't think he deserves all of the blame because I think
Sure.
that there's plenty of other things on this offense that are problems. But I do think he's partially to blame for this situation. He hasn't played to the caliber of quarterback they're expecting. We are expecting tier 1 quarterback play out of this team, and we haven't seen tier 1 quarterback play out of them. So I think that's something we can ask.
Yeah, and last week against the Bengals, I'll say this too. I didn't think it was poorly coached, and I didn't think guys were struggling to get open. Like I think that was the first loss where I'm like that was on Brady.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on. I'm gonna give you a game. I'm wondering if this is a lock candidate. I'm gonna give you Lions Panthers. Are you gonna lock it up?
I think I like one more game a little bit more. So I'm
Okay.
gonna just take the Lions, and I feel pretty good about it though. I think this seems bad. Do I want to lock it?
Oh, please think about it. Well, you can think about it. Let's talk it out.
Yeah. So I think the one thing is, so like the Lions, the one thing that this defense has is that the defensive line's respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then Joseph, the safety, is very good too. And
Yeah.
Okuda's played pretty well this season. But the other half of the secondary, which secondary is very much a weak link position group, is not very good. And I think that's how this Lions team gets beat. But this defensive line is respectable. And the Panthers don't really do anything except for run the ball. Like, I just
Mm-hmm.
don't know how they move the ball on this Lions team enough to keep up with their offense, which is very good. I get this Panthers defense is pretty good, but this Lions offense is currently kind of elite. Like, I just don't
Yeah.
know how they keep up with that. So I really like the Lions in this game. I think they're a significantly better team, and they should win this pretty soundly.
Yeah, it does feel like while the Panthers defense has been good this year, typically I think I do trust the Lions to still be able to put up points in this one. We also have, hey, the Lions, they're rush EPA against they're 20 or the rush EPA defensively 25th best in football, baby. They're doing all right.
Yeah, like I said, they're respectable, and they're 23rd
Mhm.
in success rate too. So it's a little
There you
better
go.
on a down
Mhm.
to down basis. So I mean, I just think it's I think it's a they have a pretty good defensive line, and I think they got a couple pieces in the secondary. But yeah, I mean, I just think that they can win games up front, and they can beat this Panthers offensive line, which I don't think is very good to begin with. I think it's okay, but like, yeah, I think the Lions can win this battle up front, and that's kind of how the Panthers want to play. So I think it's a bad matchup. Not to mention the skill position guys on Detroit's offense.
Yeah. Amazingly, this is a game where there is serious playoff implications on both sides, as the Panthers are also trying to make the postseason. Only a game back from Tampa Bay, who also, and they play them just the following week. So you win this game, you remain, and you're going to assume that Tampa Bay beats Arizona. So you want to win this game to keep pace here, as if you don't, then you basically need everything to go your way the final 2 weeks of the season to make the postseason. Again, maybe it's just a pipe dream, but if you're in the locker room, you're thinking about playoffs, you're trying to get there. Sam Darnold hasn't sucked this year.
He hasn't sucked, but he hasn't moved the needle for me. I'm still not worried about this
Hmm.
team. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
that being
that's
said,
fair.
they're gonna end up 6-11 and in the playoffs or something like that. But I'm not really worried about this team. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't turned the ball over, which I think has been the bad which I don't think has been a bad thing. But at the same time, I just he hasn't moved this offense to like a respectable level, in my opinion. So uh, I still like the Lions in that matchup too.
Yes. Someone says, Jackson, why do you have to stream during school? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Listen, you can watch the show after the fact. Okay. We gotta get only time we can get it done.
Yeah. Holidays are weird, man. I'm sorry. We'll be
Uh-huh.
back to normal schedule soon next
Yes.
week.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because again, if you missed it earlier on, no recap show the fall. No recap show this week, but we'll be back to the regular schedule after that. All right. Well, yeah. Lions. So are you gonna lock it up or no?
I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna wait.
Okay. I think that could have been a lock, Kyle. I gotta be honest. I had that as a lock candidate.
I did too. It was one of my two big ones, but I'm just gonna wait for the next one. So
Okay, and you pick, and the luxury of picking first is that your lock will eventually get to you. Okay, Kyle, give me a game then.
let's do Falcons at Ravens.
Hmm.
This feels like the next. Actually, yeah, let's do Falcons at Ravens. Lamar's still not 100% confirmed to play, but the line's indicating that he's probably going to play. But even then, what percentage is he? What percentage is he at? So I think that's something that I'm interested in this game. So go ahead and pick Falcons at Ravens.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Ravens. I also had this one next to my list. I was hoping I could get it in front of you because there's some games of closer lines. Because I think that this is I think I like the Falcons plus 7.5 here. I guess the thing is though, Kyle Desmond Ritter, one of the most entertaining watches going through the All 22 and watching Desmond Ritter's performance. It was the weirdest game I've ever seen in my entire life, Kyle. Desmond Ritter was doing his best to turn the ball over. He threw just a pick six, not even a potential pick six, just a guaranteed pick six that was just dropped by a Saints defensive back. He had another interception that ended up getting called back. I feel like I have a whole video that I'm scheduled to post of just it seemed like every play that he had, something weird would happen. It was a bad game, but it wasn't like just bad. It was like oddly bad. I don't know. Desmond Ritter was a great watch. If anyone has NFL Game Pass, recommend checking that one out.
Uh, yeah. So you weren't a fan. Yeah, I
No, I mean
mean,
it was. Oh, he was really bad. I mean, he was terrible. I mean, it wasn't like the worst performance I've ever seen, but it was like he was. It was worse. Like Zach Wilson looked at that and said, "Yeah,
well, it's a learning experience. Hopefully, he gets better. I don't know if it's going to happen, but
sure,
we'll see how it goes against this Ravens defense, which is all. I mean, they gave him a brutal schedule to start his NFL career with the
yeah,
Saints and Ravens. I mean, that's just
uh-huh,
mean.
yeah."
But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I do think the Ravens should win this game handedly. But I mean, if Lamar's not 100%, I'm worried. And if it's Tyler Huntley, I'm a little worried too. I'm a little more worried still. So I mean, this Ravens team just been not very good. I haven't been convinced with them this last few weeks. I don't know what this team's going to be down the stretch.
I mean, the Ravens have kind of always in the Lamar era been very Lamar dependent, right? Which is weird because they've
Yeah.
had him on a rookie contract. So you think that you would be able to build like this dominant team around him. And the Ravens have been typically pretty good at building good teams around their quarterbacks. It's just weird how they finally get the great quarterback on a rookie deal and then kind of struggled at getting the team around him. And they've had some good defenses. Like they went 4-14-2 one year. So maybe I'm over. Maybe it's not exactly the case, but at least in the past couple years, that's been the case. I think Lamar matters a ton to this football team. I still think with Tyler Huntley, they should be able to move the ball at least somewhat effectively against a not very good Falcons defense.
Yeah. I mean, Baltimore's still competing for a playoff spot, but like, I think the most interesting thing about all this is how it's going to impact the offseason, right? Like, this has been the big question. It seems like for a year now with Baltimore and this Lamar Jackson situation, where, you know what? I think, like, objectively, Lamar Jackson is a very good quarterback. He's a great
Hmm.
quarterback. I think everyone should agree on that. I think people still stuck on it are just haters, if you will. But
Hmm.
I also think it's fair to say, like, if you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, you have to construct your offense to be Lamar Jackson's offense.
Hmm.
And is that successful to win a Super Bowl in the NFL? I think that's something that's fair to ask. And I don't know, like what's going to happen with this Raiders team if they crap out this season and they stumble to 10-7, they get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, they're playing the AFC South team probably, so who knows? But if they're
Hmm.
10-7, I think the Chargers could jump them too. And if they bounce in the first round of the playoffs, what do you do in this situation with this team in this franchise?
Yeah, it's the I keep Lamar. I think that I start there. I get Lamar on my team and then I work out from there. But I could totally see the argument behind let's not pay big money for a quarterback that we're not winning with right now. Because are we ever going to win a Super Bowl, or are we going to just beat a team that consistently makes the playoffs and gets bounced out in round one or round two?
Yeah. I mean, it would have been really nice to see a full Bateman season with him. I think that's the big
Yeah.
thing. Like,
Mhm.
things looked good when Bateman was on the field. But I do think there's some fair questions to ask about this, and it's going to be interesting to see how they end the season and how they go into the playoffs.
Yeah. It really is like you know, I think what I do is I give him an actual wide receiver for once.
Yeah. Well, and hope he stays healthy. So yeah, I mean, give him
Right.
another one though.
Yeah.
Like he deserves to.
No, they've had some guys, but they haven't had like a consistently good receiving core. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Try do my best to make that happen if I was on the Ravens. But I've been saying that for years. Let's move on, Kyle. Let's go from one AFC North team to another. I will be giving you your team playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Only a 3.5 point spread. Who do you got?
Let me lock this one up. Let me take the
Oh,
Bengals
locking
in
up
the
the
lock.
Patriots after all.
No, locking up the Bengals. Yeah, bad football teams, dumb football teams don't beat smart football teams. The Bengals are very much a smart football team. The Patriots are very much a dumb football team. Give me the Bengals to win this one by more than a touchdown. I feel pretty good about that. I mean, there's a coaching discrepancy here, and it's not Bill Belichick greater than Zach Taylor, even though he is. It's Lou Anarumo is a much better defensive coordinator than Matt Patricia is offensive play caller. Lou
Sure.
Anarumo is going to dominate this game. I don't see how the Patriots move the ball enough in this one to make anything happen. I know the Buccaneers got a little bit of momentum early in that game, then like turnover craziness happened, but I still think there's enough on this Bengals defense to completely overwhelm this Patriots offense, which I mean, in a vacuum, just doesn't have the skill position talent that Tampa Bay does. It just doesn't. I know that they got a few pieces, but I just don't think it's enough really to take advantage of some mismatches. I don't think it's enough to take advantage of the coordinator difference, and I don't think we have good quarterback play. So I think all that's a problem. I think this Bengals defense. If you're going to ask me, will the Patriots score 20 points or 0 points? I'm more likely to pick 0 than 20. So I think that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This was, I think, another one of my lock candidates. I had a lot of lock candidates this week. I totally understand it. I think that the Bengals, a little bit concerning that their defense made the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense look competent until Brady kept turning the ball over. But that's, I think, a little concerning. I don't think you love that. I also think on the flip side, it just feels like, what do you do if you're the Patriots in this situation to slow down this Bengals offense? I think I could see Joe Burrow really going off in this one.
Yeah, and I fully expect them to have a really good game plan against Chase. Like
Uh-huh.
Chase is kind of a matchup nightmare where even if you game plan on him, he's just going to jump over your game plan and catch the ball anyways.
Yeah.
So like it may
Mhm.
not matter. I fully expect them to have a good game plan against Chase, but that's not really I mean, this team is a little bit Chase dependent. But like Joe Mixon's no slouch. I don't know if T. Higgins is going to go, but he's really good. Tyler Boyd's really good. I mean, they have good players on basically every part of their skill position part, which is the huge difference between this Bengals team and the Patriots team. I'm just so frustrated watching my team. I think they're going to get blown out in this game, and it's not going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, if the Patriots pull off this upset, I mean, you're all the way back.
Uh, yeah,
You
I
would get
mean,
all come on, you would have to get hyped up if that happened, right? I mean, you look at the Patriots, winning that game would put them right back in a chance to make the playoffs because I mean they still have to play the Dolphins and the Bills, so it wouldn't be easy, but there's at least hope there.
there would be, but I also would just look at it. I mean, I'm also a pessimistic fan, but I mean, I just look at it like I would look at this and say, okay, yeah, we beat the Bengals, great, but those stupid losses to the Raiders and Vikings are going to cost the season. And you can even paint it a little bit to the Packers game too, even though Bailey Zappi came in a tough situation. But you know, we had the dumbest play in NFL history to lose to the Raiders, and the guy's toe was out of bounds. We had a rookie running back run straight into the punter against the Vikings and lost that game. Like there is a there, you can't overcome that kind of stuff and make the playoffs. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, although I do think that you did a good job though of kind of reverse jinxing yourself by locking up. It's what I did last week. It's a good move, locking up against your team.
Yeah, I can't lose either way.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of an emotional hedge.
Uh, we will. It is emotional hedge, but yeah, I do think it's going to be ugly. So I don't know. We'll see. I like watching the Bengals though. Like
Yeah,
they're kind of like they're probably the team I'm going to kind of like support a little bit in the playoffs, just because they're fun to watch. I love Joe Burrow. I love him. He's a great
yeah.
quarterback.
Any team who is a division rival with the Ravens, I'm sure that you're except for a division rival with the Ravens and the Steelers. I mean, you got to be a fan of them a little,
Yeah, exactly.
and the Browns
At
too. I
least,
mean, like,
yeah,
three of probably your hated teams at this point.
yeah. I mean, I at least respect the Steelers. Ravens
You,
not so much.
you don't even respect the Ravens. You
I
gotta
mean,
respect elite Joe Flacco.
no, there's too much history there from the complaining about the sixth offensive lineman thing, which was
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous to complain about for John Harbaugh and say it
Uh
was
huh.
against the rules, and then it was the whole Deflategate thing that they started and
Was that
passed
them? I
on
thought
to
it was
the.
the Colts.
It started with the Ravens. They were trying to report stuff, and then they passed it along to the Colts, and that's how the Colts were tipped off to it.
I
You
see.
know, even though we were playing in like negative temperatures, and then the ball
All
went
right, all right.
into
We
room
got,
temperature.
we
Ridiculous.
understand.
Oh
We don't
my
need to get
god.
into it. Yeah, let's stay focused, Kyle. Give me a game.
Um, balls at 49ers.
Okay, Balls 49ers. I get it. Balls need this one, right? You still
Yes.
have the Brock Purdy of it all, who I'm fully on board of him. Is just I'm just accept that he's the next Tom Brady. But look, not everyone's there yet. I get it. There is still that question of is he really good or is this just a fluke? If he has to play against a better defense, which Washington is, will there be some issue? Could there be some issues here? Could he make some mistakes, which we have seen him do? Again, he's not perfect. Okay, he's close to it, but not quite perfect yet. Uh, could there be some? Could this be a wake up call for Purdy?
It could be. I think this. I think this Washington defense is good, but I don't know. I think Kyle Shanahan can make you or I a competent quarterback. I really do at this point. Like we we don't love Taylor Heineke. This is not a pro Taylor Heineke podcast. I mean, he's
Sure.
fun, but
hmm
we neither one of us are calling him a good quarterback. If these two quarterbacks switch teams, do you think either team would change?
I legitimately maybe this is just me. I think I would. I think the Washington. I think San Francisco would be worse in that scenario.
You think so?
I think so. I think give me Purdy over Heineke.
Okay. He is processing the game really well. He doesn't have
hmm
the arm. He doesn't throw the ball very hard at all, but he is processing the game very well.
hmm
Um, it's going to be interesting to see if this can continue because I mean, what? How crazy would it be that they invested all this in Trey Lance, and then they also kept Jimmy Garoppolo,
hmm
and then their franchise guy would be on the bench? Just
Incredible. Also, I think about this too, Kyle. There's never been a rookie quarterback to go to the Super Bowl. I believe maybe there's been, but there's never been a rookie quarterback to win an AFC or NFC championship game. Could this be the year that it happens? Could we get a rookie quarterback, Brock Purdy of all people, being the rookie who takes his team to the Super Bowl?
yeah, I think it's possible.
How crazy of a story would that be? The last Mr. Irrelevant being the first guy to go to the Super Bowl as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really fun. It'd be crazy if it happened. I do think it could happen. They're not my favorites to win the NFC, but they're definitely,
They're probably number two.
yeah, they easily got to be considered number two at this point.
Yeah.
They're right behind Philadelphia as the team to beat, basically. Now, Philadelphia, I think, is a lot better, but I mean, we'll see what happens. They just lost their quarterback. I mean, what if this shoulder injury is worse than it turns out to be for Jalen Hurts, and all of a sudden are the 49ers in their driver's seat? I think it's a real question.
It's a real question. It's also a real question with the Commanders. Again, you pull off this victory, though. You find a way to win this. You play the Browns next week. That's a winnable game. If you can get those two, that'd put you at 7-1 if you lose to Dallas the last week. But maybe Dallas has their, starters bench at that point. You could potentially win out from here if you can win this one. But you got to win this one. It feels like if they lose this one, 7-1. I don't know. With the Lions red hot right now, it feels like it'd be tough for them to make the playoffs with a loss.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of selling them right now. Like, I still like this defense and I still like some of their skill position guys, but like, you had two chances to beat the Giants and you didn't do it. And that's kind of how I feel like the season's going to be decided, right?
Yeah. I think so. Especially that second game. The first one, okay, you tied at least, but that second loss, like that Kayvon Thibodeau touchdown, like that was the game basically.
Yeah. I just feel like going 1-1 is even better than going 1-0,
Yeah.
1-1, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just at least getting one win, I think, made the difference, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let's move on. 3 games left. I'm gonna maybe reach a little bit, giving you the game that has the biggest spread, but I'm giving you Seahawks at Chiefs. We've seen the Chiefs sometimes take a step back, sometimes play down to their competition, which not playing that far down. I think the Seahawks are still a competent team. I think that they're still a solid team. 7-7 kind of feels about right with them as kind of a 500 team. Big win for Seattle. This would be one that if they can pull this one off, they definitely have a chance at making the playoffs as they're, part of their tough schedule is being here. I also remember, I believe it was a Christmas game or something when Russell Wilson and rookie Patrick Mahomes, or I guess second year Patrick Mahomes, had a back and forth battle. I believe the Seahawks won that game. Could we see a repeat? Could the Seattle offense do enough against a Chiefs defense that's struggling a bit to potentially outscore Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, this is I don't I think this is a little bit of a disrespectful line, but based on what the Seahawks defense has been the last few weeks, you got to go Chiefs to get this done. Move the
Mhm.
ball on this team. Seahawks can still score points in this game. Can they score enough to keep up with Kansas City? I just don't know if it's going to happen. But that's basically what they have to do. They got to be able to run the ball and control the clock a little bit here.
Probably, yeah, that's probably it. Of limit some possessions in this one, but at the same time, I feel like kind of part of the way you beat the Chiefs in this game is by being able to throw on them, at least a little, to be able to take advantage of kind of your because the Seahawks are essentially the same team that they've been for the past decade. I guess not quite decade, but past 6 years or so. Just instead of Russell Wilson, it's now Geno Smith playing very good football, and it's a quarterback, 2 good receivers, and then that's been mostly it. A good running game as well. So if you can just continue to do this and continue to take advantage of that, and let's hope that you get a mistake or two from Mahomes, it's not out of the question this game flips the other way.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, you do have to throw on this team. Like, so we saw the big push for Nick Bosa to be Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's a
Uh-huh.
candidate. I think Chris Jones has to be a candidate, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'll probably look at it at the end of the season and like do a fake ballot on here. But like, he's on my short list of guys. I mean, this team's currently eighth in defensive EPA per play. If it didn't have Chris Jones, would it be last? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
it's almost that much of a difference. He's been that good. I mean, he's been unbelievable this season.
No, when I did my midseason picks, I had him as my defensive player of the year candidate. A lot of people were saying Parsons at the time. I wouldn't be mad at Bosa. Bosa leads the league in sacks and pressures. Hard to argue against that too much. But you're right. Chris Jones doing it as a mostly interior defensive lineman. I can totally see it.
Yeah, I think all three of them are great players. I still think
Sure.
Miles Garrett's an incredible player too, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I just don't think he's going to get it because that defense has been bad. Um, but I mean, he is the best interior defender in football this season, no doubt to
Yeah.
me. And that has been because Aaron Donald is hurt. But I think even before Aaron Donald got hurt, he
hmm
was a little bit better
Yeah. I think
this
so too.
season.
Yeah,
So
right. Obviously, Aaron Donald, we'd all take him, as probably a first pick outside of any quarterback. But Chris Jones this season.
yeah. So I mean, it's been really good stuff. I don't know, like, I don't know if Seahawks are going to have success just running the ball up the middle and trying to control clock.
Yeah, Kyle, I have breaking news here about a game we already talked about. Per Jeff Saturday, Nick Foles will be the starter in the Chargers Colts game. Does that change your opinion on this?
No.
Okay.
Uh, I'm surprised they didn't go back to Sam Ellinger.
Yeah. Well, it's always good when you're starting your third quarterback of the season. Always helps out. Hey, who knows? This is right around the time when Nick Foles gets hot.
Uh, Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Saturday on a Saturday again. Nick Foles back for some more. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens indeed. Kyle, give me a game, which will then in turn also, because there's 2 games left, Bills, Bears, Texans, Titans. Which one am I going to have to pick?
Uh, I guess I'll give you Texans Titans.
Yeah, also
This
higher
line
up on,
feels so disrespectful.
disrespectful to the Titans for only being 5.5-point favorites.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, the Texans have played well these past couple of weeks. One of the more impressive 0-2 stretches you'll see from a bad football team.
Yeah. That's true. They have played better. I mean, they could have won both games legitimately. They took the Chiefs to overtime. They were ahead at the very end of the game against the Cowboys. But I don't know, like this Titans team, I mean, they should theoretically win this game by double digits, right?
I don't know. I mean, this is a team that Texans that their defense has sort of played solid these past couple of weeks. It's been able to generate some turnovers, which is a big thing. But also, I think it's one that's not going to just let you go all the way down the field. I guess the thing is, we expect this to be a big Derrick Henry game, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this Texans defense has played better, and I think the run defense has played a little bit better at times. But it's not like it's not a team that I think is going to go head to head with the Titans and dominate the line of scrimmage. Although, I mean, you look at this Titans team. I mean, if you just go to their ESPN depth chart, there's a lot of red here. There is a lot of red.
I bet.
Tannehill questionable, Burks questionable. They have 3 receivers on IR. They have 4 of their starting offensive linemen listed as questionable. 3 of their backup offensive linemen listed as questionable. 2 more offensive linemen on IR. I mean, there's a lot of red on this football team, which I think is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Another thing that's been an issue with them is their sort of inability to pass block the Titans, and it feels like that's a way that we've seen teams been able to attack them and get some. You can get turnovers that way. The Texans have had kind of several different guys coming in and being okay, but they've had a decent edge rush. Grouping this season. It's not amazing, but it's been solid. So if you can get some pressure that way, that could be another way to, again, I think they're going to need a turnover or 2 in this game because I don't know how much points they're going to score. But can they make that happen? I think there's a chance.
Yeah, I mean, Renard and Hughes aren't stiffs, that's for sure. Like,
Hmm.
I think they're solid pros. I don't know, they're not elite, but I mean, I'm convinced anyone could beat Dennis Daly at this point, as
Sure.
we've
Hmm.
highlighted on this show multiple times. This poor
Hmm.
guy is trying to live.
Uh-huh.
I think it's they should be able to beat him. So, I mean, I don't know it if the Titans lose this game. I mean, that's the problem, right? Like, yes, it's funny to joke about, but if the Titans lose this game, like, what happens? I mean, this team is already recruiting a new GM. Is it time to clean house basically at that point with a new GM looking to start over?
It's up there. I mean, not if you lose this game because you still could make the playoffs. It'll probably will come down to that Week 18 matchup against Jacksonville. But if you miss the playoffs here, I do think you have to really look in the mirror and say, what do we got to do here? And again, I mean, it's that AJ Brown trade. It just week after week looks stupider and stupider.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously any of this would happen at the end of the season, but like, oh, why'd we miss the playoffs this season? Why'd we fall short of expectations? Oh, well, we lost to the Texans in week 16 and we lost to the Jaguars in the week 15 and 18.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
how do you come out of exit interviews like that?
Right. It would be tough. I wouldn't, but I mean, I don't know. I think Vrabel's safe, right? Vrabel's not going anywhere.
He shouldn't. I mean, he's still an
Mm.
excellent coach. I mean,
Yeah.
if he actually got fired, he'd be off the market in like 20 seconds.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Every team would line up.
Yeah. Every team that has a vacancy and some that don't, I would probably give him an offer.
Patriots.
Yeah. There you go. You could dream, Kyle. But yeah, no, must win for Titans. I think they do, but I can see why the line is maybe not as dramatic. Let's move on. Final game. Bills, Bears. So the Bills are the favorites here, but again, could this be? The Bears have been playing well these past. I feel like when Fields is there, the Bears team has been playing a little bit scrappy. Right, they're still 3-11. Okay, they're not great, but they surprisingly played some teams tough. Mostly the Eagles last week. Could this be a game where they put some fear into the hearts of the Bills in what probably still will be ultimately a loss?
Potentially. Like it's I don't know. Like they should the Bills should obviously win this game, right? But like I'm have you looked at the numbers on the Bills? It's kind of fascinating. Like their success rate is not very good, even though their EPA per play is good. Like,
yeah, and that makes sense. Just watching them, that feels about right.
yeah, like it seems like that teams have big plays on this team. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely possible. And Justin Fields is kind of a big play magnet.
Yeah. Yeah. As Karen points out in the chat, yes, I was checking the weather report. How did you know that? The weather. There's some issues with the weather, with the Bills and the Bears right now. As that the weather could be a cold weather game. We could even, could this game even be called off potentially? Because again, I'm going to be in Wisconsin during this time, so I know all the weather. That's why we're doing this podcast now instead of a normal time. So could the storm still be going on Saturday? It feels like it should be going on around there. Will the game be called off? Now it's not gonna be exactly. It's a little bit. I think it's a little bit to the east of Chicago, so I think it could still be okay. But should at least be a bad weather game, which could be fun to see.
Yeah, but
Kyle, here's my take on bad weather games. Bad weather games are fun when there's one of them in the 1 o'clock hour. That's when bad weather games are at their best.
Yeah.
A primetime bad weather game isn't great.
Yeah, that's true. Because then you can't watch anything else. But
Right.
what is happening? Like a bomb cyclone? Is that what they called it?
I don't know. Something.
What does a bomb cyclone mean?
I don't know. Well, let's we want to end the show trying to figure out what a bomb cyclone is.
Yeah, let's figure this out. Definition. Here we
go. Okay, Kyle, you search bomb cyclone. I'll say my last couple thoughts I have about this game. It should be an interesting one. I do think the Bills should be able to pass all over the Bears, but if it's a bad weather game, that does kind of favor the Bears a ton in a way where in a typical game it's not that case of if it's snowing and you can't really throw the ball. I mean, this is the Bears team that can't really throw the ball anyways, so they're not losing anything. They can just be a run-heavy team. And for the Bills, they've actually ran the ball relatively effectively as well. But part of it, too, is do you want Josh Allen taking hits in a game like this? I don't. I don't want to have Josh Allen being a guy who's, taking a bunch of hits just to beat the Bears in this spot. So maybe there could be at least a closer thing here. Kyle, what have you learned?
All right. So basically, it's like a rapid deepening of extratropical cyclonic low pressure area.
Oh.
Can produce winds of 74 to 95 miles per hour.
That seems like that'd be hard to throw in.
Listen, 95 miles per hour is fast, but Josh Allen and Justin Fields' arms are faster. Let's make it happen, baby.
Sure.
We can do
Hey, it's football. None of this pansy stopping the game just because guys are getting flown off the field. You can make it happen.
I mean, kicking is going to be impossible. Like, there would not be a single field goal attempt in this game.
Just like someone kicks it, the ball just goes straight backwards.
Yeah, they should move it to like Northwestern where it's right on the lake too. That'd be even better.
Yeah,
like that would just be insanity.
Oh, I like that idea of moving the game to a worse location. I think they should do that more often.
Just play every game in like Saskatchewan once a year or something like that. Oh my God.
I like that. Bring some of the these, like, instead of a London game, have one in Antarctica.
Yeah. So what happens if you throw a pass and it flies backwards?
That's a good point. I think is that a forward pass or a backwards pass? I don't know the ruling on that. I think backwards. I think that would count as a fumble.
It has to be backwards, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think you could throw a pass in 95 mile per hour winds? Like a 1 yard pass?
Like a 1 yard. I don't know. I'll try it out. You know what? When I'm up there, I'll see if I can do it.
Go get it. You got to film it too. Get it on video.
Okay, yeah, that's what we'll do. And if this is the last podcast you ever hear from me, you'll know what happened.
I mean, you'll just step out for a second. It'll be okay.
Yes. Okay. Covered that game beautifully. Great stuff by us. Kyle, that is our show. Let them know where we can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Jackson Cougar. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. Make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That's at On the Sideline JK.
Yeah, and definitely make sure you follow those these weeks, just because again, craziness of the holidays. There might be some scheduling updates, so make sure you always follow those accounts. And then also, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, it's On the Sideline podcast. Check that out; it is available. I have no idea how many people actually I haven't checked the numbers on that in like probably a year.
The what?
The audio only feed. For all I know, there's like millions of people listening to this.
That'd be great. I mean, I hope so. If we're in the millions, that means we're doing something right.
Yeah, I think typically it does okay. I mean, mostly our views come from YouTube.
Yeah, that's probably the case still. But
Hmm.
definitely check out, subscribe, rate the audio only feed. That'd be sweet. Stay safe on Christmas, man. I don't know why you're going to Wisconsin, but that seems like a bold choice. Why don't you get the family to visit you?
Listen, it's not my choice. Out of my hands, Kyle.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Well, I'll
Oh,
be
we
at the
made it.
Mavericks Lakers, so I'll see you on Wednesday, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just saying about the podcast. We made $6.27 the past 30 days on the just on the audio only feed. So look at us.
Oh man, we're rolling in dough. No.
Yeah, the one thing I've learned about doing a podcast is that audio only feeds really don't make much money unless you have like actual sponsors.
Yeah. Yeah, we should probably get that rolling. But I don't know. Anyone want to
Yeah,
sponsor us? Let me know.
yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the not doing sponsors too, though. It's more fun this way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, ad reads would be rough.
Yeah, we would not be good at ad reads. We cannot handle that.
We would go off on a tangent so fast.
Yeah. No. Again, thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. I have to go back, so gotta head out now. But thank you for everybody for watching or listening. We do appreciate it. And until next time, see you later, alligator.
Peace.